All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is Ebony, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Host Style. And today we have Renee with us. How are you, Renee?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I am awesome. You guys, she is taking some time from her weekend to connect with us today. And I really do appreciate her. She's a mother and has other things that she could be doing with her family on this weekend. So I would love it if you guys stuck around to the end and listened to the cool gems that she has to share with us today. Renee, tell us one motivational quote that really inspires you, something that really gets you going and motivates you.
Yes. So before I share my quote, I just kind of want to explain a little bit of what I do because it kind of interferes with what I do and why I do it.
Okay.
So I do have a women's ministry, and before I started my women's ministry, I was kind of seeking, God, what is my purpose? Like, what do you have for me? What do you want me to do? And that's when he put, my women's ministry on my heart, and he started telling me how my women have power, but you guys don't realize it. And that's when he started, sharing the what my purpose was. And what I do with my women's ministry is I dig into the lives of the women of the Bible and I share their story from their perspective. So my quote actually comes from the Tony Evans book, Kingdom Woman. So the quote is, women are so powerful that they can either build up or tear down this world. And
Wow.
we sometimes forget or realize the power that us women have. Because sometimes we hide behind men, because they are the leaders, and of course they are the leader, but we both are equal, men and women. We just have different roles and how we play in that.
Right.
So that's my quote. I go by it because sometimes even myself, I forget that I have power too, and we got to remember that, as women.
Yeah, I love that because we do have different roles, and the roles that we play in this world, men can't necessarily do everything that we can do, and vice versa. Like, I don't
Yes.
know men that can birth a child, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
you guys know someone that can do that. I don't know. But I don't know any that can do that. So, we do have different roles in this world, and I think that we bring a fresh perspective as
Yeah.
women, and vice versa. Men bring their own perspective, but I think
Yes.
that that balance is essential to make the world
Yes.
run. And too many times, I think that we often forget our power because we live in a fast-paced, busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Some of us,
Yeah.
and so we
Ex-
forget to reflect on who we are and the power that we have within us.
yeah.
I love that you connect that to your purpose and you identified how
Mhm.
you can bring your purpose into this world. Can you talk about a situation where, say, for instance, you had a goal in mind, you didn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you had to overcome some obstacles. And at the end of the day, you were able to bring that
Mhm.
goal or that dream to fruition.
Yes. So this is actually a testimony of when I was actually about to give up on my ministry. I was really close and just, letting go and saying, you know what, God, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't deserve to, do this for you, So I was in a point in my life where, the enemy was just really attacking and just putting past sins and, in my heart and just reminding me of who I used to be, before Christ. And it was, it was really, tearing me down. And I was just at a point where I'm like, God, I can't do it anymore. I don't deserve to be your servant. I don't deserve to do this ministry. I don't. And so a friend of mine, he had put together an event. And so God just put in my spirit, I want you to sign up for this. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. But after this one event, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. And so what I did is when I signed up for the event, the testimonies that I write from the woman of the Bible, I actually went on stage and shared one of the testimonies. I believe it was Rahab. So I shared Rahab's testimony there. I was so nervous because it was my first time going on stage, but I was like, you know what, I'll just do it. This is going to be the last time, you know. So I went up, and then after I got off stage, everybody was coming up to me, a lot of the women talking about, oh, what is my ministry? How did I get this started? But I'll never forget, this one guy, he came up to me and he told me, he was like, I just wanted to tell you that God told me that you are anointed to do this. And that he gave me a vision where you were in it and you were around and surrounded by all these bushes. But as soon as you touched them, they turned into flowers and they blossomed and they represented all the women that you were going to touch and turn towards Christ. At that moment, I was frozen, but I kid you not, I went home and I started crying. Like I was bawling in tears. And I'm like, okay, Lord, like you apparently want to use me for this. You put this ministry on my heart. This is what you have for me. I'm like, you know what? Enough's enough. Like you already died for those sins, like I'm going to do it. So after that, I started doing other events. I went up on stage more, started, just really engaging and doing what God has really called me to do. But it was really hard for me because I didn't believe that, okay, God, this is what you have for me. But he did.
And how old were you at that time?
This was, I want to say, this was about 2 years ago that this happened. About 2 years ago. So I'm almost 25 this year. So I was probably like 23 when this happened. Yeah.
That is awesome because I talk to so many people that are younger that don't necessarily have a lot of direction. They have a lot of influence from people around them and parents that suggest that they go a certain direction based on everybody else in the family is a doctor, so you're going to be a doctor too. And if you want me to pay for your college, then you're going to be a doctor because that's the only classes I'm paying for. I hear that, and I used to work in a college career center where people would come in and they were like, I'm failing on my classes. I don't like them. So I'm asking them, well, why are you taking that major? Because when I was that age, I selected my own major. My parents really didn't have a lot of say in what I chose. They were kind of like, Ebonie, do your thing and figure it out. And I'm like, well, why are you in that major? And they're like, well, because my dad said that I need to be a lawyer because we have other lawyers in the family and I need to be rich and successful. But they're failing all their classes in the meantime. That happened very regularly in the sciences, particularly. People that said that they needed to become a doctor because their parents are doctors and that's what they want for them. But what they really want to do is something in the creative, artistic world. So it's a very different mindset in those classes and what they really want to be doing. And I think that we have so many pressures to try to figure it out, but figure it out in a way that other people are dictating for us to do it, as opposed to looking within and becoming more self-aware to who we are and what we're about and that purpose. So that's awesome that at the age of 23, you said, okay, this is clearly what I'm supposed to do. I've gotten confirmation and I'm going to do it.
Yes.
I think that tends to lead to a more fulfilling life than just doing something for the sake of, I need to pay my bills and this is the job that people told me was going to be lucrative. Not really what I want to be doing. Or even when you have to do that, because for practical reasons, some people have to do that, but having that passion on the side that you can really affect humanity with and affect your soul with is so key. And you're going to find that the women that you reach are then going to also be able to create a ripple effect to their community. So it's beyond just you and this little community of women that you inspire at your public speaking event or on your Instagram page or on your blog. It goes beyond that. It really impacts the world.
Yes. And everything that you're saying is actually, like, before I even started this ministry, I tell you, I was actually on another path, and I was in a time where I didn't even really know what it was my passion was. I didn't know what I liked, what I wanted to do. And, like you say, we do certain careers or jobs just to pay the bills, so that I was looking towards, I ended up fasting for about 2 weeks. And, I was fasting because I was like, you know what, Lord, I wanted to start a daycare, because I was like, it's easy. I have a son. I could stay home. I could make good money. Like, this is what I wanted to do. But
Right.
in the middle of the fast, I realized I was being selfish. I was fasting for myself and not for God, because the whole entire time I was asking God, like, God, this is what I want and I need you to do it. I need you to open the doors. Like, this
Right.
is, you have like no say. And then it finally hit me, when I was listening to a sermon by Tony Evans, and he was just talking about how sometimes when we pray, we don't get answers because, we're all about us, and we talk,
Right.
talk, talk, but we don't take the time to actually listen or say, hey, God, like, what are you doing up there and how can I be a part of it? But instead I was saying, God, this is what I'm doing. I want you to be a part of it. And so that really hit me. And that's when I actually repented. And, I was like, you know what, Lord, okay, I'm sorry. I was being selfish. What do you want? What do
Right.
you have for me? And then that's when he revealed to me, the women's ministry. And I tell you, I'm so happy that I, went the direction that he said, because what he has for us is so much better than what we have for ourselves. Because I thought I
Right.
would be so happy, doing the daycare. But now I'm happy doing what I'm doing now, because even with the women's ministry, what I wanted most was to be able to have more time with my son and to stay home with him. I
Right.
tell you, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like, I do my ministry, I run a cleaning business, and I have more time with my son. I'm an entrepreneur, by the age 24, doing all this stuff. And I actually had, the main goal was to have more time with my son and not have to worry about, a babysitter or a daycare and paying all those bills. And I
Right.
actually get to do it, but just in his way versus mine.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes relinquishing that control
Yeah.
allows us to feel more free and light and not as
Hmm.
frustrated and overwhelmed because we're trying to bang on this door and it's not
Yes.
opening for us. And I've
Hmm.
had to experience that with certain situations in my life. I'm like, well, I'm used to controlling everything and getting my way.
Hmm.
So I don't really need your help, God, because I got it. I'm used to getting my way. But
Yes.
there were certain situations where I had to let go because it was
Yeah.
beginning to be overwhelming and frustrating for me. And once I let go and said, well, what is meant to be according to your will is what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
I'm going to leave my hands off of it. So, and I think that that takes practice. I don't think you just naturally relinquish that control and you're good for life. Because we've been conditioned to operate a certain way, and sometimes our personality can come into play. But
Yeah.
I totally agree that at the end of the day, it's going to be for your best benefit, and you're going to feel more fulfilled. I often think about people that don't necessarily have a spiritual connection
Hmm.
or they don't necessarily have support from family and friends for their dream. So what would you say to those individuals that maybe they've had a dream or they've had an idea or goal in mind since they were young,
Hmm.
babies, for example, and it's not going away, it's something that they still want to achieve, it's something that's still within their heart, but they don't necessarily have the support that they need to get from point A to point Z. And this could mean they have the support of their family, but the family doesn't necessarily know how to help them because it's not
Yes.
their lane.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily people that naturally
Hmm.
extend themselves to other people and network to get this support. What kind of baby steps would you offer to these people?
So I totally understand, and I know where those people are coming from, because that's where I was too. Like, I'm like, okay, I have this ministry, I'm doing all this stuff. Okay, how do I do it? And there was a point where I was getting really frustrated because I'm like, I want to do this, 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 and this. My ministry is about this, this, and this, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I was like, I'm getting tired, God. Like, I need help. I don't have anybody to help me put all these things together. Like, what do I do? So the first thing I did was I started to realize, okay, I had all these ideas. I had all these things that I wanted to do, but I had no plan. Like, everything was just kind of scattered. It was kind of just like all in my mind. I didn't have anything written down or a plan. So what I started to do was, okay, I need to get organized. So I started organizing, what my ministry was, what parts of it. There's different things that I do in my ministry. Okay, so what are these parts? How am I going to run these? What do I want to do with them? And so I just started writing everything down, put it in a paper. I created a whole binder to organize everything. And once I had everything organized, I was able to actually step back, take a breath, and like, okay, whew, I can see what my ministry is about, how I want to do it, and how it's actually going to affect and help other people. Once I did that, I started to notice, I was connecting more with other people. I was building on social media. I was doing those things because based off those things that I wrote down, I started creating a checklist. Okay, for me to accomplish that, I need to do this and this and that. And I started setting dates. I even created a journal where I was writing down everything that I was doing, and when I accomplished it. So it was kind of like a inspirational goal journal. So that way I kind of go back and see, okay, oh, look, I did that. I did it this date. I did it this way. And it actually really helped me. And it came to the point where another girlfriend of mine, she has a ministry, and she was like, wow, like, how do you have it all together? How are you doing all this and this and this? And you're doing it by yourself. Like, I need help. So I and her actually end up sitting down together. And the same process that I did to help myself get organized, I end up helping her get organized. And now I see her flourishing on social media. I see her, doing what she's supposed to be doing, putting everything into plan. And it really helped me. Like there was simple questions that I asked her and I asked myself, what is your ministry? What is it about? What's the name of your ministry? Like there's simple questions, but they could take you a long way. Like they can discover what you really want to do and help you, really get organized, in your, or even in your business, whatever it is that you want to do. And once you have this, this plan or this, checklist or this, you have it organized to what you want to do, do research. I do a lot of research on certain things. Okay, I don't know how to do this. I don't really know how to work a camera. Okay, it's time to set some time aside to do a little bit of research. If you help, how to work social media. There's people on social media that know how to work social media. All you have to do is kind of just do the research and reach out to certain people saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to do, but I need help in this area, and I notice that you do these type of things. Can you help me?
Right. Yeah. I always find people on social media that have expertise in certain areas that I even could do and learn how to do myself, but I don't want to take the time to do it because I have other things I would rather focus on. So sometimes delegating certain tasks that drain you is key too. Because if I did everything that I could do in my business, I wouldn't have a whole lot of time for those other pleasurable things that I want to really include into my life. So I will, in a heartbeat, hire somebody to do something that I'd rather not do so I can focus in and zone in on these one or two areas that I thrive the best in. And I think that sometimes that is key too. And people look at it as, I don't necessarily have the funds to hire these people, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on it. There are so many resources out there that people are not probably aware of where you can get help for relatively low. In all actuality, you probably know somebody in your family or in your neighborhood that is unemployed, and they could even help you in certain areas for very minimal, so it's not always about shelling out big bucks to receive that help. You can also barter with people. There's so many different alternatives. So I think that just understanding that this is your goal and you're going to do whatever you can to achieve it is what's key, without making a lot of excuses of why it can't happen, because there's always a way. You just might not be fully aware of the ways to make it happen, So, and collaborating with people, it definitely helps with that. Some of the mastermind groups that I've been a part of and currently a part of, there's so many different perspectives on how to do things and different approaches that you could take that you're not necessarily thinking of. And so that's why it's better to work as part of a team sometimes, because you can bounce ideas off of each other. Two heads, usually better than one, unless you two are just totally clashing personalities. But generally speaking, you're not going to know everything, and somebody might see your blind spot that you've never even taken into consideration. So I think that just stepping outside of your comfort zone and establishing those relationships, either online or going online to look for local community meetups that meet regularly, can be very helpful.
Yeah. I've also learned that even in this ministry and business, and even though sometimes I feel like I'm alone, like I'm doing all this by myself, but in reality, I'm not, because God is actually my number one business partner.
Yeah.
You know, and really, if God has given you something to do, a task to do, he won't give you something to do without handing you the supplies. So
Exactly.
even, even with all this stuff, and sometimes I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to do that? No matter what, he always ends up showing up or putting somebody in my life, at that moment, or even at that time, just to help me with that one task.
Yes.
I've met other amazing, powerful women, since I started doing my ministry. And they're like, yeah, sis, I know how to do that. You know what? Let
Yeah.
me help you do that. I've met so many people, and it's all because, he's showing me, okay, I've given you this ministry. I am your partner in this, and I
Right.
will give you the supplies that you need to succeed and to do this ministry that I've called you to do.
Yes. And I totally agree with the people that you need in your life at that particular moment. If
Mm-hmm.
it's your God-given purpose and gifts that you're utilizing, those people will always show up. I've noticed that in my life. I'll be thinking to
Yeah.
myself, man, I really need someone that can help me with A. And then within a couple of days, A shows up. And then the next
Mm-hmm.
step, I get past that and I'm like, man, I really need for somebody to help with B. And then B shows up.
Yeah.
you know? So I think that when you're in line with what you're supposed to be doing and not
Yeah.
doing what other people are saying that you should be doing that's outside of your lane, I think that everything moves the way it's supposed to, and it's
Yeah.
in sync with the way that it's supposed to develop. And even
Mm-hmm.
with the circumstances that come into play that you weren't expecting, I think that you'll still get right back on track quicker
Mm-hmm.
if you're moving aligned with the direction that you're supposed to be in. Because we're always going to have stressors. There's always going to be something that comes up.
Yeah.
Somebody's always going to get sick. You're always going to have to go to somebody's funeral. You're always going to have to spend money on your water heater blowing. I mean, there's always going to be something that happens, but you'll always find that you'll still receive help in those situations to make it a smoother process, as opposed to going against the grain and
Mm-hmm.
frustrating and overwhelming and becoming more stressed out. So I think that just staying true to yourself and really focusing in on the prize at the end.
Yeah.
That's what's key. Keeping your eye on the prize. We hear that all the time, but really that is the crux of feeling like you're in line and more fulfilled, even with the external circumstances occurring.
Mm-hmm.
What is your next step? I know that you want to continue with this for the rest of your life. So do you have any big ideas or any collaborations that you would like to attract into your world?
Yeah. So, like I said before, my ministry has different parts to it. So one part is, from the women of the Bible, I take their lives and rewrite it as if I'm saying their testimony themselves. So I'm actually writing all their testimonies and actually putting it in a book series. So I'm
Nice.
actually going to be coming out with the book. Um,
Yay.
so yes, I'm like really excited about it. So my first book, volume one is about the first woman who lead us to Christ's birth. And that book is actually coming out, the end of this summer. So I'm,
Okay.
planning a book signing party, I'm really excited. And then after the book signing, I'm actually planning, a women's conference based upon the book, because we're all women of God, but
Right.
there's one specific thing that makes us a woman of God. We're all not, a Proverbs 31. We're all not a fasting person. We're all not, there's certain keys that make us a kingdom woman. And,
Right.
so this conference is based upon, the book, which is called Her Story.
Okay.
And we'll be talking about, different women and those different keys that make us, a kingdom woman, like purity, a fasting woman, different things that make us those kingdom women, and talking about those basis things. So that's one thing. Another thing is, it's called Ladies Nights. So I will be hosting Ladies Nights, either once a month or every other month. I'm still working out the details on those. But in these Ladies Nights, we'll have, 2-hour events the first hour where we're having, girlfriend time. We're all getting together, meeting new people, hanging out, eating food, dancing, laughing, just having a good time. But
Yeah.
then at the end of the event, I will have, um, different setups, different, what is the word? My mind is going blank right now. Pretty much different things to teach the women about being kingdom women, teaching them about finances, teaching them about health, teaching them, about, whatever it is that God's, putting in my heart, to teach these women. So not only do I want these women to come and have a good time, but I want them to leave, you know, with a kingdom mindset as well.
Yeah.
And then the last part of my ministry is called Testimony Thursday. So I will be actually doing interviews with different people and having them share their testimony, who they were before Christ, how do they find God and give their life to Him, and where they are now in their walk and in their life with Him. And so, of course, these, like it's called Testimony Thursday. I'll post these, every Thursday. So I'm actually in the midst of, working on those. I have like a list of people to do interviews with. So now it's just kind of finding the location and everything. But that's really what I'm working on putting together right now, for my ministry. And it seems that, by this summer or end of the year, all that's actually going to be out and play.
Wow. And you guys listening, remember, she's in her 20s doing all this. So, some of you that are listening that are saying, oh, I'm just good partying every weekend. This is the type of person that you want in your circle to help influence you to be the best person that you could be. So I strongly suggest that you connect with her on Instagram. All of her contact info will be in the description box. And I know that on days where I'm not necessarily feeling motivated and want to put myself out there into the world and make even one post, I don't stay there for long, because as soon as I log online, I'm going to see people just like Renee that are sharing their things that they're doing in this world. And I'm like, maybe I should get up and do something today. So I think having these people in your circle, both locally and online, is so important to enhance your own state of being in this world. And you just don't understand how the more people that you could surround yourself with that are on your level or even ahead of you, so that you're not the smartest person in the classroom, you subconsciously want to make the steps forward and not stay complacent. And I think that too oftentimes we say, well, I'm intimidated by certain people because they have all these different things going on and I don't have anything going on. But at one point in time, they were where you are right now, and they got to where they're right now by taking baby steps. So just understanding that we all start from somewhere, and it's no excuse to say that I should be somewhere, should, and quotes, I should be somewhere and I'm not. So I'm just going to stay right here where it's comfortable, thinking that you're not worthy enough to do exactly what you see people like Renee and anybody else that you perceive as successful. It doesn't get you anywhere, but just staying where you are and then complaining about it later, wishing you had taken steps sooner. So I invite you to connect with her, and you'll see in the description box as well my Nutrition for Busy Women Facebook group. In that group, we don't just talk about food from a what we put in our mouth perspective. We also talk about food consumption from a mind, body, and soul perspective. So this is, what do we feed our mind? What do we feed our soul? And the ladies in this group are extremely encouraging. So if you don't have anywhere that you can find an online community of women that are about life and about doing things, I strongly encourage you to join my group. And if you do, you will have access to a couple of complimentary gifts, particularly along the lines of living your life purpose and discovering what your career in this world really can be, that's aligned with who you are as an individual. Renee, do you have any closing words that you would like to share to encourage?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to ask me. So I do want to say, one more thing, those for trying to reach your goals. One thing I ask myself every day: what are you doing today that is getting you closer to your goal?
Right.
It's a key question. Whether if you got to put it up on a sticky note, put it on your wall, put it on your binder, ask yourself that question every day. what am I, even if it's one tiny thing, even if it's just, oh, I have to go to the post office today, or I have to, organize my desk,
Right.
no matter what it is, what is one thing you are doing today that is getting you closer to your goal?
Yes. I love that. And at the end of the week, you would have done at least 7 things that are bringing you
Yes.
closer to your goal.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, I so love that. And it doesn't take much time. Remember that, because I will sometimes talk to people that will talk themselves out of doing that one thing because they're thinking they need to spend an hour of their day and they don't have an hour of their day. But if we just look at it in small increments, 15 minutes a day, by the end of the
Yeah.
week, look how many minutes that is. By the end of the month, look how many minutes that is. By the end of the year, look how many minutes that is, as opposed to just sitting there thinking about it and not making any action steps.
Yeah. And you think if you start at 15 minutes, eventually those 15 minutes will turn into 30.
Yes.
Then it'll turn into an hour. Then it'll turn into, this is something you're doing full time
Right.
because you start with just 15 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate you. For those of you that have a story that you want to share, it doesn't have to be anything related to what Renee talked about today. You don't have to be in the entrepreneur world. You just have to have a story that you want to really impact others with. So if you have a success story or you want to share some challenges that you would like to put out there into the world so that people can feel like they're not alone, connect with me and I would love to interview you as well. Share this content with anybody that you feel that can benefit as well, because we all need more encouragement and inspiration in this world, no matter where we are. None of us have arrived, so we're all growing on a daily basis. You guys have an awesome rest of the day wherever you are in the world, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes, bye.